All right, let's get right into it. What was supposed to be a masterstroke against Iran? Well, it looks like it might be spiraling into a massive miscalculation for the United States. So, how did this happen? We're going to break it all down by tackling the key questions on everyone's mind. The whole idea here seemed to be a quick, decisive war, in and out. But what we're actually seeing unfold, it's just chaotic, it's drawn out. This is looking less and less like a swift victory, and a lot more like the US is getting bogged down in, you guessed it, a brand new forever war. And wow, this slide really paints a grim picture. We're on day 4, and just look at the state of play. The US and Israel are bombing Tehran. Yeah, the same city they were talking about liberating. Meanwhile, Iran is hitting back hard across the Gulf. You've got American citizens trapped, US military casualties, 6 and climbing. And the civilian toll, this is just awful. Over 160 schoolgirls reported killed. Both sides are taking huge hits, and there's just no sign of this thing slowing down. So, this isn't just chaos on the battlefield, right? It points to some major confusion at the strategic level. It really feels like the US has kicked open a door to a full-blown war, but has absolutely no idea how to close it. So, the big question is, how on earth did we get into this mess? Well, to try and make sense of it, we're going to investigate 5 key questions. First, what are the conflicting motives for this war? Second, was the US dragged into this by an ally? Third, was America even prepared for this fight? Then there's the Saudi wildcard. And finally, and this is the big one, is there any clean exit strategy? All right, let's jump into our first question. A war's conflicting motives. Seriously, why is America really fighting this war? I mean, this timeline says it all, doesn't it? The justification for the war seems to change every single day. Day 1, it's about Iran's nukes. Day 2, no, now it's about regime change. By day 5, we're being told it was a preemptive strike. When the goalposts move this much, this fast, it's pretty clear there's no coherent strategy here at all. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more confusing, get a load of this quote from Marco Rubio. He says the US attacked Iran to stop Iran from attacking the US in retaliation for a future Israeli attack on Iran. Try to wrap your head around that one. It's dizzying. But that key phrase, Israeli action, well, that leads us right into our next big question. Which brings us to question 2. Dragged in by an ally? We have to ask, is this a war about Israeli influence? Is America fighting for its own interests or someone else's? Well, if you ask Iran, the answer is a resounding yes. Their foreign minister is calling this a war of choice, fought specifically for Israel. And look, that narrative isn't just staying in Tehran. It's starting to gain some serious traction elsewhere, and not just with America's usual opponents. And here's where it gets really interesting. The dissent isn't just coming from the opposition. It's coming from deep within the president's own base. You have people like Representative Marjorie Taylor Greene expressing a deep sense of betrayal. She's calling the administration sick liars, saying this is not what MAGA was supposed to be about. This is a huge crack in the America First coalition. And it's not just her. That feeling is being reflected all across the country. Take a look at the polling data. A full 60% of Americans disapprove of this war. 60%! With numbers that low, this isn't just a foreign policy problem anymore. It's quickly becoming a full-blown crisis for the president back home. Okay, on to our third question. An unprepared superpower. How is it that the world's greatest military power seems to have been caught so flat-footed, especially for the kind of grueling war of attrition Iran is waging? If you listen to the administration, you'd think everything is fine. The president himself boasted, "We have a virtually unlimited supply of weapons. We can fight a forever war." But the reality on the ground? Yeah, that's telling a very different story. Let's just talk numbers for a second. $1.5 billion. That's how much this cost before a single shot was even fired. That's just the price tag for getting all the ships and planes into position. Staggering. And then you have the actual combat losses. In just one incident, 3 advanced F-15s were lost. The official story is friendly fire. Iran, of course, claims their air defenses shot them down. Either way you slice it, losing 3 of those jets in one go, that is a massive and very expensive blow. But maybe the biggest problem is this interceptor crisis. It's actually pretty simple. Iran is firing swarms of relatively cheap missiles. To stop them, the US and its allies have to fire these incredibly sophisticated, incredibly expensive interceptor missiles. It's like trying to stop a $1,000 drone with a $1 million Patriot missile. You just can't win that math. At this rate, the UAE and Qatar are days away from running out of interceptors. In Iran, they claim they've got enough missiles for months and are just warming up. This is a classic war of attrition, and frankly, it's a numbers game the US and its allies are not winning. And if all that wasn't complicated enough, let's bring in our fourth question, the Saudi wildcard. This is where things get really murky. There was a mysterious attack on a major Saudi oil facility, and it raises a huge question. Who is really playing whom in the Gulf? So right away, the finger was pointed at Iran for the attack on the Saudi Aramco oil facility. But now, not so fast. That claim is being walked back, and the Saudis themselves are investigating. So if Iran didn't do it, who did? And more importantly, why? Well, there's one pretty disturbing theory that's gaining ground, that this was a false flag attack. You know, an attack staged to look like it came from someone else. And in this theory, the suspect isn't Iran, it's Israel. The motive? To hit a Saudi target, make sure Iran gets the blame, and basically force Saudi Arabia's hand, getting them to jump into the war against their common enemy. If that's true, we're talking about an unbelievably dangerous game of three-dimensional chess. And all of it, brings us to our fifth and final question, which is probably the most important one of all. No clean exit strategy. When you start a war without a clear goal, how in the world do you end it? Right now, it looks like America has backed itself into a corner with only two really grim options. Option 1, total annihilation. That means a long, bloody, and unbelievably expensive mission to destroy every single missile site in Iran. Option 2, an impossible negotiation. I mean, how do you arrange a ceasefire with a leadership structure that the US itself just systematically dismantled? Who do you even call? And you have to think about the psychology here. Put yourself in Tehran's shoes for a minute. They feel wounded, abused, and insulted. But they've survived the initial blitz. As long as they can keep firing missiles and causing pain, why would they negotiate? From their point of view, they have absolutely nothing left to lose. And don't forget, this stalemate isn't just happening in a vacuum. It's having huge consequences for all of us. With Iran messing with shipping in the Strait of Hormuz, it's like someone is slowly turning off the world's oil tap. Prices are already surging past $80 a barrel, and some analysts are projecting they could hit 150. That would trigger a massive shock to the entire global economy. So that's where we are. A conflict started for reasons that keep changing, fought by a military that seems unprepared, tangled up in potential false flags, and stuck in a quagmire with no clear way out. It leaves us with one final, sobering